Welcome to the Envision RISE podcast show, a podcast that helps foster respect through inclusion, service, and equity. Now here's your host, Stacey Hegarty.
Welcome to the Envision RISE podcast. I'm Stacey Hegarty, Vice President of Equity and Inclusion for Envision RISE. Joining me today are two guests. We have Mari Galloway, who's the founding board member of Women's Society of Cyberjutsu, and Tennisha Martin, who is the Executive Director and founder of BlackGirlsHack. Welcome. Thank you both for joining us today.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
It is early on the West Coast for Mari.
It is, but it's okay.
And Tennisha on the East Coast, you've been up for a while.
I have.
Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about your organizations and how they started. And you two have a long history together. So let's start with some introductions. Tennisha, go ahead and introduce yourself. Talk a little bit about BlackGirlsHack and where you're headed.
Awesome. So I'm Tennisha Martin, it's Executive Director for BlackGirlsHack. We started maybe about 2 years ago to increase diversity in cybersecurity and to just raise representation and provide training in ethical hacking, for people who are trying to get into cybersecurity. But I want to just say before I even, started Women's Cyberjutsu, before I even started BlackGirlsHack, I was a member of Women's Cyberjutsu. I have been, hanging out with them and hacking with them for probably, 10 years at this point. I'm a very, very big fan of Mari. I actually refer to her as the Mari because I believe that you need to put respect on, the people who come before you's names. So I'm very excited to be here with her and, about what's going on with the BlackGirlsHack.
All right, the Mari, tell us.
That's actually my name on Twitter and on LinkedIn. But no, so I've been around Cyberjitsu since the beginning. I actually stumbled upon the organization after I failed my CISSP, and I was looking for a study group, and it happened to pop up on Meetup, and I was like, let me just go see what this is about. And what Lisa had done was bring together women in the Northern Virginia area and, to do penetration testing and learn cybersecurity and ethical hacking. But then she also brought folks from around the country, right, through virtual workshops and trainings. And so what we like to do is provide hands-on training for women and girls looking to enter into the space. And that's anything from intro to cybersecurity all the way up to penetration testing, digital forensics, reverse malware engineering. We're going to probably have one of those soon, hopefully. And everything in between, including core skills, resume writing and interviewing. And we go to conferences together. We do lobby cons. We have our own conferences. We support other organizations like BlackGirlsHack. Tennisha's awesome, so I'm really excited to to be on with her. She's like my mentor without being my mentor. She doesn't know that yet because she got like a gazillion degrees and she's freaking smart, man, like smart. So that's what we do.
All right. So these are two really incredible organizations. And I think if I understand that both organizations are working with young women, particularly Black women or women of color, who are interested in cybersecurity, in ethical hacking. Mm-hmm. Before we go any further, define ethical hacking.
Doing what the bad guys do.
Everyone knows.
Doing what the bad guys do with permission.
Written permission.
So let's talk about who you're serving, what your hopes are, what your goals are for outcomes for the women that you serve and the girls that you serve. I don't know if you do serve any young men or non-binary folks, but definitely women since it's in your titles.
For us, it's all women. Doesn't matter if you're young, old, Black, white, Asian, new to the industry, already in the industry. It doesn't really matter. We do have male members in the organization that support. They take the workshops as well. They volunteer. They help with a lot of different things. If there's non-binary folks they're welcome to. Like anybody is welcome, honestly. We're not going to single you out because you're not a woman type of thing.
Yeah, I think the same is for us as well. We started out to advocate on behalf of, one of the smallest populations in cybersecurity being Black girls and women. But, our, squad, as I like to call them, have a little bit of everybody at this point. So, the only requirement is that you want to come hack with us. We don't necessarily care if you're, white or brown or blue or whatever the case may be, as long as you want to hack and you're a decent human being, we don't really have any other requirements for that.
So what kinds of jobs can people get when they go through your programs? I know that's a big end goal. And what kinds of roles are you preparing women for?
All of them.
All right, I like it. Take over the world, the cybersecurity world.
Tennisha knows. She has a saying for that.
World domination.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but as far as the careers, we typically try to look at cybersecurity kind of like as an umbrella, where there's probably like, I think people have attempted to enumerate it, and there's maybe like 50 plus different careers under the cybersecurity, landscape. So, you don't necessarily have to be a hacker to, hang out with us. We have people who are interested in GRC, people who are interested in, security research or secure development. And, like I said, the only thing that is common is like that you're interested in cybersecurity as a whole. We've got some people who are just interested in tech, who are interested in the resources. But, like I said, if they're willing to come out and learn with us, that's all that's necessary. And there's so many options out there as far as what they can do. We try to provide, well-rounded hacking human beings, so we'll try to offer things in, blue team and red team. So like that's, defense and offense within the cybersecurity space. But the sky is literally the limit. The sky is literally the limit.
The tongue twister. Yeah, same thing. Pretty much any job in cybersecurity that somebody wants, we try to provide enough training, enough options for them to get an idea of what they want to do, and then put them in touch with folks that are already working in that space to say, what is it like to do this? And, how can I do the same thing? And how can we connect? And you bring me in and that kind of thing. So it's not just one specific job, even for leaders, right? If people want to go into leadership, we're starting to add some of those kinds of opportunities and trainings at Cyberjitsu to help prepare folks for that next level.
Now, Mari, I think you were talking about how you do work with the women on some of the essential skills, or the soft skills, as we used to call them, interviewing, resume writing, those kinds of things. Talk a little bit about that.
So it's great to be technical, but you have to be able to get a job and know how to talk once you're in the job, because everybody that you're talking to is not going to be technical. And you have to be able to explain those complex things to folks that don't understand. So we thought it was really important to incorporate, mock interviewing virtually, right? Because we're in a virtual world right now, helping people with their resumes. It's really important that you have the right words in your resume. I know when I first started, I was using the same resume for every single job. I was like, why am I not getting hired? And then I realized, I need to cater my resume a little bit. And so we want to make sure that they're aware of that, because a lot of folks have never even done a resume, or they've put their job description on the resume. And it's like, wait a minute, that's not really what you did. And
right. And do you find that the women that you're working with, especially those who have not really done a resume before, or not had anybody proofreading it and going over it, do you find that they skip over some of those essential skills? I know a lot of times when I'm talking to college students, or even high school students, they kind of go, oh, that doesn't count as anything. And not realizing that, no, that's really a skill outside of your technical training or that skill set that employers are looking for.
Mm-hmm. A lot of folks, we tell them to put their volunteer work on there when they're volunteering with us or with BlackGirlsHack, whatever it is. People look at that. Like 60% of hiring managers look for volunteer work on resumes because it shows you're doing something outside of just work, right? So you'll see it all the time. They're like, but I did a CTF, but it's like, yeah, but you learned all these skills from the CTF. So put that on there, right? They like to see that too. People care about the work you've done, but I feel like they care a little bit more about what else you've done outside of work. Like, what do you do? Who are you as a person? So
I would add to that that people, tend to, cybersecurity is one of those fields where you don't necessarily have an entry level per se. If you look at the job requisitions, they want you to kind of like have some years of experience, or they want to see that you have done something in this space. And, it's one of those kind of things like, how do I, get ID if I don't have ID, right? So, a lot of times I do the same thing as Mary said, which is, hey, make sure that you can speak to what you're doing in your home labs. Make sure you can speak to the things that you're doing on Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. Make sure that you've got like your star stories, your situation, tasks, action, and results together, so that when the interviewer says, hey, tell me about a time that you've done this, you can, not only incorporate the things that you're doing in your home lab, but you can also, highlight those skills that are common across multiple industries, right? So a lot, people who are trying to get into cybersecurity often say, oh, well, I've got 10 years of experience in cybersecurity. I'm sorry, 10 years of experience in project management, for example, but I don't have any skills in cybersecurity. And I'm like, well, no, you've got 10 years of experience in a field which is directly relevant to what we do in cybersecurity. We need cybersecurity project managers. We need cybersecurity accountants. We need cybersecurity, all of the things, people who understand like the healthcare context, the importance of patient safety when you're dealing with, data in cybersecurity. These are all things that are needed. So, I think it's important that when people are, especially transitioning from one industry to another, that they, know the value that they brought to those organizations, and they can highlight that and, saying, hey, in addition to doing this stuff, I've now, been researching in cybersecurity. I've been doing, boxes. I've been doing, hacking exercises, and, I can bring all of these skills to your organization and be of value to your organization. And I think that that's important because, people with 10 years of experience in something else, are not necessarily the same as somebody who just came out of high school. Entry level is not necessarily mean, you are new to, work. So I think it's important that people, join organizations like ours, and so that you can work with somebody to, point out the value that you've brought, because you may say, oh, I just did this and this, and that's not that serious, right? But maybe those are essential skills that are needed, for somebody, So I think it's important that you, know what you brought to those organizations, so that you can, speak about that and also put it on your resume, so you can get through these like ATS systems, and get your resume actually seen.
That's a really important point, is getting through the systems just to get your resume seen. And now, I think, Mary, you and I were talking about this at one point. Tennisha, it may have been you. We were talking about these jobs being over-credentialed, requiring a bachelor's degree or a master's degree for a lot of these jobs is not necessary. Yet the systems are set up to filter out people who have a lot of great skills, who would add a lot of value to an organization, only because they don't have a completed degree. Are you seeing any changes in that, or how? No. Oh.
Yeah. You don't necessarily need a master's degree to do a lot of these jobs. You don't necessarily need even a bachelor's degree to do some of these jobs. Some of the, dopest hackers I know don't have a degree, So, they may have some certifications or something that demonstrates their work, but they've had to work their way, basically from the ground up through demonstrating their abilities, and then just other people just hearing through word of mouth what it is that they're doing. And I think that, requiring a CISSP, which requires 5 years and a sponsor, or, other certifications like that, it's gatekeeping behavior, which is keeping very qualified people from even getting their resumes reviewed. I think that hiring managers need to care about what an individual can do, and not necessarily if they meet a checkbox. I understand in like the government consulting space that, there's certain, requirements like a 8570, which is like a baseline. Hey, I need to have a security plus to do anything with the government. Okay, so that's fair, right? That's not gatekeeping. That's, a requirement to be able to work, right? But I don't need a CISSP to be a pen tester. I don't need a CISSP to be, to run a SOC.
Right.
So it's really comes down to, what are the actual skills that you need to be able to be employed in this career, and how much of that can be taught. Can you take a person who has, cybersecurity fundamentals, maybe solid, networking and security basics, and can you train them and teach them in the business that your organization is in? Can you, basically give them all of the skills that you need that are specific to your organization, and then, maybe not have to pay as much for, some of those higher, higher credentialed or higher experienced people, and then also be able to, help to fill some of those, 500,000 jobs that are out there that are not currently being filled.
Is that how many? Wow.
In the
Half a
United
million
States.
jobs.
Yeah. In the United States, yeah.
In the United States.
And then put on top of that, in my world, I hear a lot of talk of, we'd like to hire more diverse candidates, but we can't find them.
Yeah, that's a lie. That's a sham. And that's crap. People tell me that all the time, and I look at them like, did you even try? Like, I can go outside right now and probably find 5 candidates for you in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Vegas is a tourist town.
Right.
There's no reason that you can't. You have to reach outside of your circles. People are afraid to go outside of where they're comfortable, what they know. There's whole groups of people that don't have degrees, but that have the skill and the talent to do the work and can be taught. You know what I'm saying? Like, cybersecurity can change someone's life. And folks that say they can't find people, they're affecting people's lives when they say that, honestly. When I was working at the casino, we would do an event where they would bring in certain schools here in Vegas to talk to the different organizations at the casino. So cyber and like hospitality management and, front desk, like the different areas. And we would tell the kids, you can get a career in cybersecurity. They're like, what? What is that? They don't even know because nobody's telling them. But they're on their phones, on social media, on TikTok and YouTube. They're like, I want to be a YouTuber. It's like, you can be in cybersecurity and get out of where you're at. Because usually it's the schools that have less funding. They don't have all of the same resources. And it's like, all of those kids were super talented. They could all come into cybersecurity right now and make a difference, but they're not being tapped into. And so that's why with us and with BlackGirlsHack, we're trying to tap into those areas, those groups.
Let's talk about those high schoolers. How are you reaching them? How are you getting to them? Because you're right, the schools that have more funding, they have STEM labs, they have STEAM labs, they have access to all of this. But the schools that don't have more funding, how are you getting in and trying to support those 9th through 12th graders who are just starting to think about what's next?
Well, we do Cyberjutsu Girls Academy. So it's a STEM-based program for middle and high school girls. And we will look for every single middle and high school in the area, reach out to their counselors and say, hey, send your kids, here's some opportunities. We partner with organizations to send girls to them and all of that stuff. And it doesn't even matter if they go into cyber or tech or STEM. It's just giving them the exposure, giving them the opportunity to make that decision on their own. Tennisha.
Yeah, I was going to say, just letting them know that they have the option. We have something similar we're rolling out, this summer, which is for us, the Black Kids Hack program. And it's going to be based on 9th through 12th graders initially, because, as you said, this is a matter of exposure. A lot of these students don't know, that cybersecurity exists. They're generally like, hey, when I grow up, I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a doctor, right? Those common check boxes that, our parents thought, hey, these are good positions. This is what I want my kid to be, right? But a lot of them don't understand what it means to be in cybersecurity, or what it means to be a hacker. I tell folks the story of like my doctor. My husband told her that I was a hacker, and she was like, "Why would you say that out loud? Why would you tell? Why would you tell other people?" Because in her mind, she thought of an hacker as being a malicious hacker, a bad actor, right? And she didn't realize that there are both ethical hackers and non-ethical hackers, and that this is a career that's a possibility for somebody. So for her, it was kind of like a bad word. And if maybe her kids don't know that cybersecurity is a career option, or her grandkids, for example. So programs like the Girls Academy and Black Kids Hack will hopefully reach those populations and let them know, like, hey, you're already on your computer, you're already on your phone, you understand, like, hey, don't click on links, you understand that there's security implications to the things that you do, right? So what are different ways that people will approach these systems? The diversity of thought, I think, is going to be important for us moving forward. In cybersecurity, that we, start to get more of the younger kids involved, so that, we can get people who, by the time they get ready to go to college, will major in mathematics or major in, computer science, and be able to, approach some of the real world applications, things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, decision-making systems that, impact healthcare, criminal justice reform, anything really. And then, once we, provide exposure to those students, they can actually then take those skills and be able to provide, downstream impacts to improve, the uses that we're doing for these systems, so that people can be safer. And then they can, they have different ways of approaching things. There are kids now, I saw like a baby on Instagram the other day that, basically took the phone, logged into it, with whatever the code was, navigated to wherever YouTube was, and put what they wanted to watch on it. And it's just like, these kids have been raised on these devices. So, nobody knows them, better than, kids that have basically been raised on them, right? What if these kids understood the possibilities that were out there? And I think that programs like the Cyberjutsu Girls Academy and Black Kids Hack are going to do that. And for the Girls Academy, have been doing that, and impacting the surrounding communities, because those students now have been exposed and now can, know that there's an option out there for them, outside of, the things that traditionally are provided to especially girls as possible careers. We don't have to do the pink job, so we can put on a hoodie and, sit in our basement if we wanted to, and that's okay.
Everyday attire right now.
Well, we're getting close to running out of time here, but I do want to give you each an opportunity to talk about how our listeners can get involved. What do you need from people right now to help support your organizations, and where can they get more information?
Funding.
Okay.
Nonprofits always need funding.
Look like?
Need funding for programs, funding for to be able to send some of our members to conferences and things. Black Girls Hack is doing a send a squad member to DEF CON thing. They're trying to get 20 folks to go. We're about to launch our Hack-A-Pass competition for DEF CON tickets, and we need volunteers. We need space as we're going back into in-person events. We're going to need space for hosting workshops and trainings and meetups and networking things. We have Cyberjutsu Con coming up June 18th at the Maritime Conference Center in Maryland by BWI. So if people want to fly in, it's right there. There's a hotel attached to it. June 18th, come out, support, be a part of the fun. I'll be there. So
for all those companies that have said they're looking for people and can't find them, you're telling them exactly where they're located. Exactly.
Right there. So Tennisha.
Yeah, I would just echo those same things. If you're short on funds, we also need things like, training. A lot of organizations provide training commercially, right? I'm sure those organizations need to give back, donate some of that training to, the women of Cyberjitsu or Black Girls Hack, so that, we can skill up our members and better prepare them for careers in cybersecurity. volunteering, mentoring. You can
Mhm.
mentor a few hours a month, and that's something that will cause a big impact to the lives of the people, because they need people. I can't tell you like how much of an impact Mary has been in my own personal life, mentoring me for and just basically adopting me, and saying, hey, this is how to make your life a little bit easier as you're trying to navigate this space. And people like her have been had an amazing impact on me personally. And I know that other people need mentors as well to provide direction in specific areas. It could just be general careers in cybersecurity, or it could just be as simple as how to navigate in a space that's primarily male, as a woman, or as a Black woman, or a Latin woman, or someone that's non-binary. So there's a lot of different ways that don't necessarily need to be financial for people to give back. We would obviously, of course, appreciate financial donations, because that helps. And you can write it off as a tax write-off. But we'll take time, or anything else that will help to and make an impact in our industry.
And your websites. Let's give your web addresses.
womenscyberjutsu.org, JUTSU.org.
And ours is blackgirlshack.org.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for joining us today. There were a whole lot of acronyms that I don't know, but I'm sure people in cybersecurity understand, and people who go into cybersecurity will soon understand. Tennisha Martin and the Mari Galloway, thank you both for joining us on the Envision RISE podcast.
Thank you.